So I wanted, black men to feel comfortable with what they're wearing. And for me, suits was my thing. There was a bit of a challenge there for people to even accept the fact that a black man can pull off a suit like I did. I remember the first big brand that I worked with, and that was Tom Ford perfume. I was elated. The idea for Fashion Industry Insiders was to create a connection for people like myself who do not have a fashion background per se, but who want to get into fashion. Some people will call you in and say, listen, this is how you do it, connect you to that person, but some people just ignore you because they feel like you do not belong. Like I said to you, I've worked with a couple of brands from Savile Row and high-end brands, whether it's perfumes or drinks or all sorts. So it was very hard for a black person like myself who did not have the friends to connect me within that luxury fashion space to actually break through compared to my white counterparts who we started off together and, next thing you see, they're having these big deals and big endorsement to do. For me, it was a bit of a struggle until a certain points where a lot of these brands start to come along to say, you know what, we want to work with you.
Brother,
Good to see you, bro.
good to see you. How you doing?
Looking nice.
Oh, you're looking good. Don't do that to me on my shoe. Come in. Let's do this.
This episode is brought to you by 1219 Styles. For quality bespoke suits crafted to perfection, all from the comfort of your home. Schedule a virtual measurement today at www.1219styles.com.
You're welcome to another episode of Trades and Profit with Michael Okunloro. And today I have Edmond Kamara on my show, the man behind Cuts For Him and Fashion Industry Insider. It promised to be a wonderful conversation. Before I leave, you know how we do it here, outfit of the day today. I'm wearing a two-piece kaftan by 1219 Styles. You can check it out to get a piece on www.1219styles.com, and my shoe is from Money Morgan. And so with that, let's get into today's conversation with Edmond.
Hi, my name is Edmond Kamara, founder and creative director for Cuts For Him and Fashion Industry Insiders. You're watching Trades and Profits by Michael Okunloro. All right.
And I'm Michael Okunloro. You're watching Trades and Profits. I'm doing this with Mr. Edmond.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming around.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Yeah.
An absolute pleasure.
You had someone who has a very impeccable work in the space, in the fashion space.
Oh, thank you.
Not just the designs or not just you styling or you dressing out well, but you've taken it a niche further to even put your own country on the map in the fashion space. So
thank you.
Can you talk us through how the journey started? How did you get here?
Thank you. That's a huge compliment. I don't know how I'm going to carry that, but thank you so much. First of all, as you know, I'm from Sierra Leone. Because you mentioned the country, I just wanted to know, viewers to know that I'm from Sierra Leone. My journey in the fashion space started in 2015 when I decided to start off as an Instagrammer or blogger, so to speak. And this all started in 2014, actually, when a few friends of mine at the church that I go to at KT, Kensington Temple at Notting Hill Gate, I would dress to the nines to go to church. Because when you're from an African background, an African home, you don't go to church anyhow. You put on your Sunday best, right? No, you put your right foot forward, you dress well to go to church. So a few friends saw this and they said to me, Edmond, you dress so well. And it's not just the fact that you dress well, how you style yourself stands out. I'm like, okay, cool. And a few of them said to me, why didn't you start a blog? And I'm like, me, a blog? I was like, no way, not at all. I'm not going to do it, But I resisted it for a few months. And then a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, who is a photographer, said to me, you know what? I'm a professional photographer. Why didn't you come with me to shoot one Sunday after church? And that's where it started. After church, we went out to Notting Hill Gate, and then he shot me. And I'm like, okay, this is not too bad, actually. I can get used to this, But I wasn't very comfortable in front of the camera. So I bought myself a camera, a Canon, a very beginner's level camera. And he also showed me how to take photos. So I started going around London taking photos of men dressed, in a dapper way. And of course, I opened my Instagram. So I was posting everyone that I was shooting. And then that just started to gain traction. But after my friend shot me, I started to use those photos on my Instagram. And then it just grew. I don't want to say blew up. There was a lot more interest because people wanted to see who was behind the camera. Of course, I wasn't the greatest photographer, but people were quite keen. So that's how Cuts for Him started. I mean, there's a whole story behind it, in terms of from that point onwards, but I don't want to bore you. So,
No. We're here for all that.
yeah.
It's quite interesting because your journey is quite similar to mine as well. So it is just the same way people were at a point in time. People were just telling me that, oh, you dress so well. And one day, one lady mentioned to me, my very good friend Koinsola, she just mentioned to me that, out of a lot of people on campus in uni, you dress different. You should have a blog. I'm like, why do I want to have a blog? Said, you know what? And I think my own biggest challenge then was not able to stand in front of camera. My own biggest challenge then was for me to write. And she said, and she was a good writer.
Right.
Said, you know what? I'll start writing for you.
Okay.
Just take the pictures, tell me your ideas.
Right.
And boom. And before I know, one thing led to the another, one thing led to, and one thing led to the other, which I see the same in your own story. Yeah. So where did the all Cuts for Him then come in? What is the whole idea
of Cuts for Him?
Yeah.
So the idea of cut, I actually had a proper think about what I was going to call the blog or the Instagram page. I thought about, I like dressing in suits.
Yeah.
Tailor-made or something I can take to my dry cleaners for them to tailor, basically. I like suits, put it that way. And so I thought to myself, what name would I call it that would correlate with what I'm trying to do, right? So I came up with the name Cuts for Him, and cut is a tailor's cut,
Yeah.
right? For him, it's men's. So I want to inspire other men like me within the industry and outside the industry to dress well, to dress presentably. So that's where the name comes from, Cut for Him. And of course, the idea from then to now is to also emerge or to grow the brand into something that I would also start to make in terms of tailor-made stuff. So that was the idea at the time. And it all fitted very well. And of course, when you talk about cut, you've got the tailor's cut, you've got the editor's cut, in terms of publishing stuff, you got, and I was into fitness as well. So everything just fell into place, cut. And like, okay, cool. That's a perfect name. So that's where Cuts for Him came from. But the initial idea was to it was about the tailor's cut.
Oh,
yeah.
So now we then have the fashion cuts, the fashion show cuts.
Exactly.
Camera action cuts.
Absolutely. So it just flowed very well.
Oh, nice. And how has it been so far?
It has been wonderful. I mean, since 2015 to now. So I've been privileged to work with Edward Sexton. I've been privileged to work with high street brands like Marks and Spencer's, Ted Baker, perfume brands like Creed, Penhaligon, and leather good brands, Aspinall of London, and so many other brands, honestly. And it's been a huge privilege. And since inception, I've also been an ambassador for drinks brand like Peroni. I've worked with hotel brands like Savoy. So the list goes on and on. It's been a real privilege.
It's your 10 years anniversary this year.
Correct.
Yeah. So
Thanks for reminding me.
Looking back, so you hold the people who encourage you back then to.
Oh, absolutely.
You hold them a big thank you.
I do. I owe everyone along the journey because people come into your journey in periods and seasons.
Yeah.
From the people I encouraged me to get into it to the people who kept me in it, because it's not always easy. Sometimes you think, I'm just going to pack this in. To now my wife and my son, who I try to balance the time to do what I do and also spend time with them. So I owe everyone a huge thank you.
Oh,
yeah.
We'll come back to the family part in a bit, because I can imagine you managing the family and still doing all of these. So it is a whole lot of work. But
yes.
Outside you even making a name for yourself in England, there's something you're doing for your own country, Freetown, Sierra Leone.
I would say I personally, and this is not, I'm not making a boot statement, I'm making it personal.
Okay.
I can count how many designers I know from Sierra Leone, but you are then taking it a step further to say, you know what, I want to organize a fashion show in my home country. I know you do one in London here as well.
We've done a few here.
Yeah, you've done a few in London, but you felt like it is time for you to take it back home. What was the idea? What was the reason behind that?
So first of all, Fashion Industry Insiders is another brand that I created. Let me just tell you a little bit about the Fashion Industry Insiders itself. So you would recall that I would like to say I fell into the fashion space, but I think God placed me there. There was nothing like an accident. So sometimes you get that imposter syndrome, like, am I really doing this? Do I know what I'm doing? Kind of thing. You feel like, do I belong here? So, and that journey has not always been easy. So I find myself sometimes pushing through doors and, people shutting the doors in front of your face. And so the idea for Fashion Industry Insiders was to create a connection for people like myself who do not have a fashion background per se, but who want to get into fashion, right? Because from my experience, some people will call you in and say, listen, this is how you do it. Speak to that person, connect you to that person, but some people just ignore you because they feel like you do not belong. So the whole idea was for me to bring people together to connect them so they don't have to go through the same struggle I went through, right? So I brought, initially I thought I'm going to invite 10 people in my living room, make dinner for them, and then connect them. And in my head, I also thought that I was just going to invite people from church, because then I discovered that there were designers at church, there were photographers, there were videographers, there were stylists, there were so many people that I didn't know about until I stepped forward, and then everyone just started to pop up. It's like, oh wow, there's a whole community of people here. So I said to myself, it'll be good to connect with these people and get them to connect with each other. So I said to myself, why don't I just cook dinner and invite them? I'm not a great cook, but I thought, I'll put something together, and guess what? That never happened. But what I then thought, and it was very naive of me in hindsight, was that I'll go out to a hotel and rent a space. So that was my very first show, and it was less than 2 months. I pulled off the first event and people came to it and people paid for it. And it was obviously a learning curve. I have no idea what I was doing, but with the support of people around me. So from 10 people to almost 100 people, for my first event. So that's how Fashion Industry Insiders started. That was in 2017. So we've been doing events every year, but 2 years for COVID, 2020 and 2021. We didn't do any events, obviously, for obvious reasons. So we've been doing events here. And then 2019, we decided to take it to Freetown, right? To Sierra Leone, where I'm from. So initially, I thought I was going to keep Fashion Industry Insiders to England, to London. There's a space for it, there's a creativity and things like that. And a friend of mine said, you know what, don't count Africa out, I was like, I'm not sure, because then I wasn't going back home, so I didn't know what was happening there. So in 2019, I went back home to a friend's wedding, and then a couple of people said the same things, like, you need to bring your event. I was like, okay, that can be arranged. And that was it. And I took, Fashion Industry Insiders in Freetown in December of 2019. And I brought with me a team of about 8-9 people from London. And it wasn't just about creating the show, but we also wanted to create an impact with the young people, because we saw that there was an acute shortage of skills within the fashion industry. And so by God's grace, I put my own money, and then we partnered with the British Council and the government of Sierra Leone. We brought a few people there to train young people for about 2 weeks, in various fashion disciplines. And so that's how we went to Sierra Leone. And now we're going to Sierra Leone every year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. How does that make you feel, seeing the difference and the impact
It makes me feel wonderful, because, it's a very expensive venture, as you would understand. Plane tickets, renting out venues and, things like that, running things logistically, having to interface with other service providers, suppliers. It can be a nightmare sometimes, but it's the same thing for anywhere that you go. It's not just in Sierra Leone. So it's very hard. But once you see the end product or the end results of what you're trying to do in terms of like impacting these young people, and you see on their faces how much they've learned probably within a short period of time, and you think, yes, I can't stop now. I need to continue to do this until Sierra Leone comes up, until we have a whole host of people who can say, we know enough about fashion to take the fashion by storm. And by the way, there's a lot of other people that are doing great work that are from Sierra Leone, that are in Sierra Leone and outside Sierra Leone. So I'm not just the only one. It's just that I want to focus on the event space and the training space. There's so many fashion designers from Sierra Leone that are doing very well. Someone like Fode Dumbuya Labrum.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing amazingly well. He designed the Arsenal away kit. I don't know if you're Ghana's fan.
Oh, I know him.
Okay. So he's a good friend of mine. I mean, he's one of the people that I brought back to Sierra Leone in 2019, and so many other people as well. Someone like Edmond Kamara, who's the creative director for Off-White. He's from Sierra Leone as well. And of course, people from Sierra Leone, someone like Marianne Kai, Swan Kotia, Aisatu Azelia, Mimanu, so many people are doing great work. So I'm not the only one that is doing this. So, and collectively, we want to take Sierra Leone forward.
You guys already, you're doing that already. And I feel it's just a matter of time, because through you, I probably will find out about another designer back in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
And me getting to know that person, just imagine more people getting to know them, which is like the exposure. And it's just a matter of time before we know Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Africa, and it's
Of course.
yeah, it's going to be there. All right. So it's been 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
For me, one of the reason I started this to start telling the stories of fashion designer or people in the fashion space is because I know how much fashion has been a blessing to me. And I think one of the most important blessing that it has given to me was when I lost my mom, and I was in a very dark space.
Right.
And I just moved down to England at that time as well. And I would go outside on the streets just to take photo shoot like you were doing then. And I go out and people see what I wear. They just, oh, you look good. And that sense of smile that I put on their face, I was in a dark space.
Right.
But me just even letting somebody laugh for like 30 seconds, he blessed me a lot. And within a short period of time, I just noticed that I move on with life and come out of that space.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who would want to start out in fashion, but they don't even know how to get about. They don't even know who to talk to.
Yeah.
They feel like there is a gate. And I just see there's a wide gap between people in and the people out.
Correct.
So, which is why I created this, so that people can come on to tell their stories and for others to as well learn and gain some knowledge from it. So I will ask you, in the last 10 years, what has been the challenges you faced, or especially you being here in
the UK.
Yeah, the UK.
I mean, there's so many challenges, but first of all, I just want to qualify that by saying, for every challenge, there's an opportunity. And we shouldn't get bogged down by that challenge, right? Because, I mean, I'm a Christian, I'm a man of faith, and without that, I'm nothing. So really and truly, with these challenges come an opportunity to actually overcome and surpass these challenges, because God is bigger than everything else. But some of the most acute challenges that I faced, first of all, like I mentioned, is that I came from an active background. I have no idea about fashion. I knew how to dress well, but nothing else. Or I thought I knew how to dress, but nothing else. You dress well, but nothing else. So it was almost like, who am I to try to influence other people how to dress, right? Mind you, I come from an era where, young men wear streetwear or like tracksuits, hoodies and baggy stuff. And for me, I never really bought into that. So I wanted to come into a space where I feel as if, especially for Black men, that you could wear a suit and feel good about it, like, and you're not being laughed at. Oh, you're going to the court or something. Do you know what I mean? Because when you're from certain areas in London, the minute you wear a suit, people will start to laugh at you. Like, your friends will start laughing at you, thinking, "Are you going to court? Are you in trouble with yourself?" Do you know what I mean? So I wanted, Black men to feel comfortable with what they're wearing, and for me, suits was my thing. So there was a bit of a challenge there for people to even accept the fact that a Black man can pull off a suit like I did, right? And of course, I wanted to be in the luxury space as well, right? And that's another thing as well. Like I said to you, I've worked with a couple of brands from Savile Row and high-end brands, whether it's perfumes or drinks or all sorts. So it was very hard for a Black person like myself who did not have the friends to connect me within that luxury fashion space to actually break through. So it was almost like it's quite difficult, and you're already, people can see from a mile because obviously your skin color. And I'm not saying that's the case for everyone. But it was a bit difficult for me to break through compared to my white counterpart who we started off together. And, next thing you see, they're having these big deals and big endorsement to do ads for various brands and things like that. For me, it was a bit of a struggle until a certain points where I think God blessed me and a lot of these brands start to come along to say, you know what, we want to work with you. And it was a huge blessing. I think those are the two main challenges that I faced. But by God's grace, they're behind me.
First 58. At what point did they start coming in?
So, I mean, like I said, I started in 2015 and I remember the first big brand that I worked with. It was on gifting basis as well. And that was Tom Ford perfume. I was elated. I think it was 2016 or 2017. I was like, what? You mean Tom Ford head office in London have seen my work and they're sending me like a whole range of perfumes free of charge? What are you serious? What's going on here? Like I was having an out of body experience. I was like, wow. And I actually felt like at the time I've arrived. I was like, come on, you know what I mean? What are you doing? That's just the beginning. Literally, that was literally the beginning, until, now like 2020 or even 2019 when I started to get paid, for campaigns, and I'll give out my rate cards and people will even negotiate with me. Like brands will negotiate with me to say, okay, we don't want this, we only want that. Can you do it for this? So it was like, how did this happen? How? So I mean, the brand started to come from 2016, but obviously some of them were on a gifting basis, and then paid work started to come around 2017 and up until now. So it's still a mixture of high street brands and luxury brands.
Oh,
yeah,
that's nice to hear. Did you grow up in the UK?
I came to the UK when I was a teenager. So I was born in Sierra Leone, grew up in Sierra Leone. I came to the UK when I was about 17-ish. I don't ask me my age now. Please don't. Let's not. Okay, I'm not gonna have to look here, go there. Let's just say I've spent more time in the UK than in Sierra Leone. This fucking out chicken. So I'm no spring chicken. Yeah. So I see myself as obviously a British citizen, and I see myself as British, but also Sierra Leonean. I'm not forgetting my roots. But so I think I find myself in a very unique position where I can draw inspiration from both cultures. Lot peoples, especially living in London, you don't really miss where you're coming from at all because London is such a melting pot of different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that's my story.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I said we're going to come back to the family to the family side.
Yeah.
So how have you been able to merge? Do you still work in IT?
I still do, yes. Interestingly enough, I went back into that, I think, about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And it's going well. And interestingly enough, as God may have it, I work remote.
Oh,
so I can be mobile and do my work.
Yeah. So how are you then able to manage the time with the family, your amount of feeds? How are you able to bring everything together?
It was sometimes it gets difficult, especially having a little one. Like I've got a 3-year-old. Oh, and when he's at home and I'm working from home, sometimes it gets a bit challenging, right? They don't care. They want to play with daddy.
Mm-hmm.
It's every time is playtime, right? So to manage that, in terms of working and focusing on my work and giving my best, because that's very important. And then carving out time to step outside to shoot with various brands or campaigns or sending emails or meeting up with friends to talk about ideas of creativity and things like that. It has been a learning curve for me because my priority is my family, absolutely, hands down. And anyone that knows me know that my wife and my son comes first. So anything that would take my time away from them would have to be worth it. So I would say I probably do less work now, less shoots now, but try to focus on quality. And I'm a big picky as well who I work with in terms of brands and things like that, because I'm not single anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've got a family, so my time is their time. But to answer your question, it has not always been easy, but thankfully I'm able to manage the two, and it's been good so far.
If there is anybody coming into the fashion space, or before I ask that question,
Yeah.
would you say it is necessary for people to go to fashion school before they pick up a career in fashion?
Sorry, carry on.
Okay. No, did you go to fashion school?
No, I didn't. That's what I was gonna say.
Did you think that would have made any difference?
Maybe when it depends on what career path you want to take, right? If you want to get into like the technical aspects of a fashion career, it could be a buyer, it could be a fashion designer, creative director, it could be something else. Maybe that is necessary, but we all know that when you go to school or when you go to college or university, you're going to learn a template of your field, right? And most times when you leave college or school or university, you don't use 80% of it. Literally, you'll never ever see it again on the field. So for me, going to school in general is to learn about life, is to learn how you're able to cope with situations, is to be able to discipline yourself, to meet deadlines, and to also honing your social skills, right? But back to your question, I really don't think it's absolutely necessary to go to fashion school for you to get a career path within the fashion industry. Like I said, there's so many areas that you can get into that do not require that. I mean, I never went to fashion school, but here I am. I am a content creator, and now I've formed another company that is empowering people. We're doing fashion shows and we're doing so many things, and I'm also a stylist as well, which I didn't need to go to fashion school for. So I can speak for myself. I don't think you need to, but like I said, there's a little caveat there. Like I said, it all depends on what you want to focus on, what you want to, hone in on, and how far you want to go. Maybe if you want to be a journalist or like a fashion writer for Vogue or for GQ, maybe you need to go study a little bit. I don't know, but I think you really don't need to.
What's the future like for you the next 5-10 years?
Wow, the future belongs to God. Only He knows. I mean, we can only plan, but I think for me, the focus is going to be on fashion industry insiders. Okay. Fashion industry insiders is not so much about me. In fact, it's not about me at all. It's about the platform itself, and it's about how we empower people at the grassroots level, but also give a platform to designers, to people who have a brand to showcase the world, people like yourself. We want to make it in such a way that people come on it and feel as if they have the benefits of that exposure of being seen, because there's so many creative people in the creative space or in the fashion space that are doing such incredible work, but they're not known by people. So we want to elevate these people and really give them a platform to say, actually, that person is doing well, God bless them, but this person's here as well, they're doing an incredible work. So we want to shine a spotlight on like these talents that are dotted all over the world. That's the future I see for myself. Obviously, Cuts for Him is a platform that I've, run for 10 years. I've never ever, but I'm not gonna drop it. Let's put it that way, because that's the bedrock of everything that I do. And for that, I think I always hesitate to say these things, but I'm currently creating, I should say, a line of a capsule collection of men's stuff. So people should look out for that very soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
That will look good, I trust. So lastly, what advice will you give a younger version of you, or the younger you stepping into the street of fashion in 2015?
What advice? I think honestly, I've been so blessed that I would say do the same thing that you did. Don't be afraid to go into spaces like feeling as if like you don't know what you're doing, because that's the only way you're going to learn. And in hindsight, a lot of the things that I've done, at the time I had the zeal, I had the confidence, but looking back, I'm like, wow, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, starting fashion industry insiders was one of those examples when I did my first event. I mean, who was I? This was a 5-star hotel that I rented out a space. Within 2 months, I was trying to sell tickets for people to come, and people came. So if I was afraid, if I was a bit hesitant, thinking, I don't know fashion that well, or I didn't study fashion, or I didn't know a lot of fashion designers, I wouldn't have done it. But I just did it anyway, So be confident in your naivety, so to speak, be audacious, be bold, go for it. If God is on your side, who can be against you? I mean, the worst that could happen, you can just learn lessons and move on, and be open to failure as well, right? Don't think failure is always your enemy. It can be your best friend. because when you fail, you have the opportunity to learn. And like I said earlier, challenges always present opportunities. Embrace those opportunities, embrace those challenges. Obviously, using wisdom.
Now you're preaching.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you. It's been a wonderful time. Before we round it up, there was this game I play.
Okay.
It's a this or that game.
This or that. Okay.
Yeah. So Afrobeat or soca music.
I think I'm much more exposed to Afrobeat, and Afrobeat is taking over the world right now. So I'll say Afrobeat.
Afrobeat.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Winter or summer.
Oh, that's a difficult one. Only for one reason.
Yeah.
My style of dress caters to winter more than summer. I do not know how to dress during the summer at all because it's hot, and so you require less clothes. But in general, I'll go for summer.
You go for summer.
Yes.
Okay. Freetown or London.
Oh. Oh my word, that is a tough one. I mean, Freetown has my heart, because I'm from Freetown, and London, has my gratitude. I think. Can I split it? I think it depends on what the purpose is. Freetown is still, beaming with potential, with what could happen. And London is already established. It's an old city. It depends what. London is London, right? It's a difficult one. I think I'll go 50-50. I'm allowed to do that.
Okay. London or Paris.
Oh, London.
London.
London
or Milan.
London. Yeah, London. Definitely London.
Definitely London.
Yes.
Alright.
Yes.
So, which part, styling or
Mhm.
creating events?
I think creating events, because it's a lot more impactful. It requires a lot more people. You're interacting with so many other people. The event that we did last month, I worked with, from volunteers to people that are paid, easily 80 people. So it's a lot. That's and we're talking about suppliers as well. So definitely events, because you get to make an impact, and so it's not just you or one person that you're styling. It's a bigger team.
All right. We are done. In summary, before we let you go, is there anything we should watch out from you? Anything coming soon?
I think really and truly it's just, people just keep an eye on on the platforms that I run. But yeah, keep an eye out for fashion industry insiders.
Is that your Instagram? Is that the Instagram for the?
So yeah, the Instagram handle is Fashion Industry Insiders.
Okay.
It's the same thing, and of course for Cuts Fame is Cuts Fame as well. So those are my handles. But just keep an eye on both pages. Any announcements, anything that is coming up, we'll definitely announce them there. But this year, I feel as if Fashion Industry Insiders is about to do something great, something wonderful. By God's grace, we've been able to do wonderful things in the past, but this year, I feel in my spirit that something exceptional is going to happen. So, and that's within the fashion space, the creative space, within the event space, and also within the mentorship space, because we're all about empowering young minds. So people should keep an eye on that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having an absolute
Thank
pleasure.
you for coming.
Thank you.
And
Thanks for having
see you at the tour bus.
See you at the top. I like that. Amen, brother. Amen. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.